All right, today we're going to be reassembling the forks on the R65. Decided not to use the helmet cam because I think it's going to get in the way. So let me bring this down. Let's see here. So I've already disassembled and cleaned the forks, so they're pretty much ready to go. Let's see. These are just. They're all been cleaned and everything is soda blasted. Everybody's happy there. And here we have the actual fork tube and the damper rod inside. And we need to install the new top-out bushing. Most forks have a top-out spring so that when the fork gets to the top of its travel, it has a little spring cushion. This one didn't. The BMW used the bushing. And the bushing had completely disintegrated in the original, so we've got new ones of those. Now I'm going to disassemble the damper assembly here. There's a little clip that we have to pull out. Like that. And then the whole damper rod just pops right out. If you can see here, there's 3 tiny little piston rings. It looks just like a piston ring on a cylinder and on an engine. There's 3 of them there. You can see the way they float around, and there's a little gap. You have to make sure that the gaps are not aligned. You want them to be staggered. And then this new bushing has to go in here. So we've got to pull this off, clean this out. And we're going to pull all this apart, and the bushing goes here. So the first thing is the fluid control ring goes on, then a little spacer, then the fluid control valve goes on, and then our clip again. So this is the new stack that has to go inside the fork tube. So let me just clean some of this crap off of here that I failed to get off last time. Okay. So this guy can stay out for now. This is just the mounting flange that goes on here. So now the trick is we've got to get this back in here. And these piston rings expand when you pull them out of the cylinder they ride up and down in. So let me push you back up here. So the trick I learned from the Haynes manual was very helpful, is you take some feeler gauges and we place the feeler gauges down in there. It's kind of tricky, you got to do it with. So we're going to pull everything up so that just the piston is exposed. We're going to hold these, don't drop them in there, although they'll just mount the other side, but that's okay. So we'll just drop this guy in here, and voila, we're done. Without these, that would have been a challenge because we wouldn't have had a way to compress those rings. Now, one thing you do have to check for is, where's my flashlight? One thing you have to check for is make sure when you put that in there that one of those piston rings didn't pop off the valve, and it didn't. So we're good there. So now we just let everything drop into place. The top-out bushing, the control fluid ring, and then the control valve, and jiggle everything down into place. And it should expose the ring that this clip sits into. Yes, it did. So now we can put this guy back nicely, and voila. That's our. So this is all the fluid control. This is just the way the damper actually works. I'm sliding the piston inside the cylinder, and that becomes your damping mechanism. All right, now I'm going to put this guy back on, the little mounting flange, and now we've got to send everything down into. Oh, by the way, I lubricated those piston rings with a little bit of. I've got some fork oil in here, and I've got the new fork seal soaking in that stuff to keep it fresh. So that's been pre-lubed. We got some oil on the piston and the rings. And now we're going to assemble this into the fork tube. So we basically shove this whole thing down in here. Okay, and now we need our we got a new crush washer, a new aluminum crush washer on the bottom here, on the retaining bolt. And this guy goes in from the bottom. And I've got 13mm socket on a long extension to hold the internals from turning while we tighten that. It's kind of tricky to get it on there. Okay, now I've also got my torque wrench set up with an Allen head so that we can tighten this properly. And it's 17 to 19 foot-pounds according to the Haynes manual. I'm not so concerned about torque on this because it's a crush washer. So as long as we feel the crush effect, and this is tricky because it kind of want to spin on us. There we go, nice. You gotta find the right spot to grab this to keep it from spinning. What I can do is take this, I hope I just take this extension off here. I felt the crush very nice. A little bit further, and then it clicked. So we're good there. So that's all assembled. Now you can actually feel that top out bushing right there, which it didn't have that before, so it was making all sorts of noise. All right, now is the spring, the new spring. This is the new Racetech spring that's specified to the rider's weight. And we put the spring down in there. And now Racetech specifies 15 millimeters of fork spring preload. So this is the spacer. They give you a bunch of pipe, PVC pipe. And I cut it to 60 millimeters. They did all the calculations and it came out to 60 millimeters. And we basically put a washer on top of the spring because the top of the spring is not really flat. So you put a washer in there to make it flat. You put your top out spacer on, and then we've got our cap. Now, our cap has a new O-ring on it. That O-ring there is new, and we'll put a little bit of lube on it so that it goes in nice and easy. And I'm going to use my wheel puller here to squeeze this spring down and get the clip in place. So just so that the wheel puller has something to grab on, I'm going to put the fill bolt just in place loosely for the mechanism to catch on. And then we're actually ready. What we need to do now is assemble this, squeeze this down, and then put the clip back in there. And I devised sort of a way to do this. What we do is take the top triple tree and put it on the fork. Like so. And then we tighten it so that it doesn't move. And we're going to use this as a base. Okay, that's that. Now, I'm going to bring you down here. Let's see. Like that, maybe? That can work? That should work. Alright, so this is going to be kind of hairy because you need like 4 hands to do this. So let me loosen this guy up here. Try that. And we're going to put our little top cap on. And now we're going to use our wheel puller to collapse this. You see, this is where I need 6 hands. Okay, we're nowhere near there. We've got to loosen this up some more. This is probably the worst part of the job because it's trying to hold 6 things together to get this thing collapsed. Whoop.